The diner smelled of fresh coffee and fried eggs, a cozy spot on the edge of town where locals gathered every Sunday. Madison, an 85-year-old veteran, sat quietly at his usual corner booth, his hands wrapped around a steaming mug. His worn cap, embroidered with the Marine Corps emblem, rested on the table. He sipped slowly, his eyes tracing the lines of a newspaper, though his mind wandered to memories of Vietnam, where he'd carried wounded friends through jungles under gunfire. The diner was alive with chatter, families laughing, waitresses hustling, plates clinking. Then, a heavy boot thudded near Madison's table. A biker, leather jacket creaking, towered over him. "Move it, old man," the biker barked, shoving past Madison's chair. The mug tipped, coffee splashing across the table. Before Madison could react, the biker's hand swung back, smacking Madison's cheek with a sharp crack. The diner fell silent. A young couple froze mid-bite. A waitress, Taylor, gasped, her tray wobbling. Madison's head jerked, a red mark blooming on his weathered skin. He steadied himself, gripping the table's edge, his hands shaking but his face calm. The biker sneered. "What's a fossil like you doing here anyway?" His friends at a nearby booth snickered, egging him on. Madison didn't speak. He reached for his cap, placed it back on his head, and sat down, his eyes steady, like he'd faced worse than a bully in a diner. The room stayed quiet, tension thick as syrup. Taylor, the waitress, hurried over, her voice soft. "Sir, are you okay?" Madison nodded, his voice low. "Just fine, miss." But his fingers tapped his phone under the table, typing a quick message, usual spot. Trouble. He sent it and sipped his coffee again, as if nothing had happened. The biker, whose name was Jordan, strutted back to his booth, laughing loudly. "Old-timers think they own the place," he muttered, gulping his soda. His buddies chuckled, but the other diners shifted uncomfortably. A mom ushered her kids toward the door. No one dared confront Jordan, whose broad shoulders and loud voice filled the space. What Jordan didn't know was that Madison wasn't just any old man. He'd earned a Silver Star for pulling 3 men from a burning helicopter in '68. He'd lost friends, carried guilt, and built a life on quiet strength. More importantly, Madison wasn't alone. 30 minutes earlier, he'd texted his son, Alex, like he did every Sunday. It was their ritual, coffee and stories, since Madison's wife passed 2 years ago. Alex wasn't just a son. He was a Marine Corps captain, and he never came alone. Outside, the faint rumble of engines grew louder, unnoticed by Jordan, who kept boasting about his bike. Madison's eyes flicked to the window, a small spark of hope in them. The diner's neon sign flickered, casting shadows on his face. Taylor hovered nearby, wringing her hands, unsure what to do. The other diners whispered, some stealing glances at Madison, others at Jordan. The air felt heavy, like a storm was brewing. Jordan leaned back, oblivious, tossing a fry in his mouth. "Bet he's got no one," he said to his friends, smirking. "Just another wannabe hero." Madison's fingers tightened around his mug, but he stayed silent, his gaze fixed on the door. The rumble outside grew louder, tires crunching gravel. A few diners turned, curious. Something was coming, and it wasn't just the Sunday crowd. The diner's door swung open, and a gust of cool air swept in. Every head turned, expecting Alex and his Marines, but instead, a young woman in a nurse's uniform stepped inside. Her name tag read Morgan. She scanned the room, her eyes landing on Madison. She hurried over, her face tight with worry. "Mr. Madison, I got your text," she said, kneeling beside him. "What happened?" Her voice was soft but urgent. Madison touched the red mark on his cheek, his eyes steady. "Just a misunderstanding, Morgan," he said quietly. "No need to fuss." But Morgan's frown deepened. She was no stranger to Madison. She'd been his home nurse since his heart scare last year. She knew his strength, but also his stubborn pride. "This isn't nothing," she whispered, glancing at Jordan's booth. The biker caught her stare and laughed. "What, you his babysitter now?" he called out, his buddies chuckling. Morgan's jaw tightened, but she ignored him, focusing on Madison. "I'm calling Alex myself," she said, pulling out her phone. Madison shook his head. "He's already on his way." The diner buzzed with whispers. Taylor, the waitress, hovered nearby, clutching a coffee pot. "Should I call the cops?" she asked Morgan, her voice shaky. Morgan hesitated, then shook her head. "Let's wait," she said, trusting Madison's calm. But the tension in the room grew thicker. Jordan stood, stretching his arms, his leather jacket creaking. "This place is a circus," he said loudly, tossing a napkin on the table. "Let's roll, boys." His friends nodded, but before they could move, a sharp clatter broke the silence. A young boy, maybe 10, had dropped his juice glass, staring wide-eyed at Jordan. "You hit him," the boy said, pointing at Madison. His mom tried to shush him, but the boy's voice carried. "Why'd you do that?" Jordan froze, his smirk fading. The diner's eyes were on him now, judging. He shrugged, trying to play it cool. "Kid, mind your own business," he snapped, but his voice wavered. The boy's mom pulled him close, whispering, "Quiet, Ethan." But Ethan's words hung in the air, a small spark of defiance. Madison looked at the boy and gave a faint nod, like he approved of the courage. Outside, the rumble of engines grew louder, impossible to ignore now. Jordan's buddies shifted nervously, sensing trouble. "Yo, Jordan, maybe we should go," one said, glancing at the window. But Jordan waved him off. "I ain't scared of some old man's friends," he said, though his eyes darted to the door. Morgan stood, her nurse's instincts kicking in. "You should be," she said, her voice firm. "You don't know who he is." Jordan laughed, but it sounded forced. "What? He's some war hero. Spare me." Madison stayed silent, sipping his coffee, his calm unnerving. Then a new sound cut through, boots, heavy and synchronized, on the gravel outside. The diner's windows rattled as 3 military jeeps pulled up, their headlights slicing through the morning haze. Diners pressed against the glass, murmuring in awe. Jordan's smirk vanished. "What the hell?" he muttered, stepping back. The door opened again, and this time it wasn't a nurse. A tall man in Marine fatigue stepped in, his face hard as stone. It was Alex, Madison's son, and behind him 6 Marines filed in, their presence filling the room. The air shifted, heavy with authority. Alex's eyes locked on Madison, then the red mark on his cheek. He didn't speak, but his clenched jaw said enough. Taylor gasped, nearly dropping her coffee pot. "Ethan," the boy whispered, "cool." Jordan's buddies shrank in their seats, but Jordan stood his ground, trying to look tough. "What's this, a parade?" he said, his voice cracking. Alex ignored him, walking straight to Madison. "Dad," he said softly, "you okay?" Madison nodded, his voice steady. "Just a little coffee spill, son." But his eyes told a different story, one of trust in what was coming next. Alex stood by Madison's booth, his eyes fixed on the red mark on his father's cheek. The diner was silent, save for the faint hum of the jeeps outside. The Marines behind Alex stood tall, their faces unreadable, but their presence loud. Jordan, the biker, shifted on his feet, his bravado slipping. "What's this, man? You bringing an army for an old guy," he said, trying to laugh. His voice shook, and his buddies stayed quiet, eyes on the floor. Alex turned slowly, his gaze cutting through Jordan like a blade. "You put your hand on my dad," he said, his voice low but sharp. "You think that's nothing?" Jordan raised his hands, backing up a step. "Look, it was just a tap, okay? He was in my way. No big deal." Madison sipped his coffee, calm as ever, but his eyes flicked to Alex, a silent signal. Morgan, the nurse, stepped forward, her voice firm. "A tap? You left a mark on his face," she snapped. "He's 85, and you think you can just shove him around?" Jordan's smirk faltered. "I didn't know he was some big shot, all right? Just an old guy taking up space." Taylor, the waitress, couldn't hold back anymore. "He's not just an old guy," she said, her voice trembling. "Mr. Madison's been coming here for years. He's kind to everyone. You don't get to treat him like that." The diner murmured in agreement, a few heads nodding. Ethan, the young boy, tugged at his mom's sleeve. "Mom, why's that guy so mean?" he whispered loudly. His mom shushed him, but her eyes were on Jordan, disapproving. Alex took a step closer to Jordan, his boots heavy on the tile. "You don't know who he is," he said. "My dad carried men out of a war zone. He saved lives while bullets flew. And you? You hit him over spilled coffee. Jordan's face reddened, but he tried to stand tall. I said I didn't know, man. What do you want, a fight? I'm not scared. One of his buddies, a skinny guy named Riley, grabbed his arm. Jordan, let's just go, man. This is bad. Jordan shook him off. Shut up, Riley. I'm not running from some soldier boy and his crew. Alex's eyes narrowed. Not running? Good. Because we're not done. He turned to Madison. Dad, what happened? Tell me. Madison set his mug down, his voice steady. Son, he was in a hurry. Thought I was in his way. That's all. His words were simple, but the weight behind them was heavy. Morgan shook her head. That's not all, Mr. Madison. He hit you. I saw the mark. She turned to the diners. You all saw it, right? A few nodded, and an older man at the counter spoke up. Yeah, I saw it. That punk had no right. Jordan's eyes darted around, realizing the room was against him. All right, fine, he shouted. I messed up. What do you want me to do? Say sorry. Alex's jaw tightened. You think sorry fixes this, he said. You disrespected a man who's earned more respect than you'll ever know. Taylor stepped forward, her hands shaking. Mr. Madison never talks about his medals, but we know. He's a hero. You? You're just loud. The diner buzzed, the tension rising. Outside, one of the Marines spoke into a radio, his voice too low to hear. Jordan noticed and swallowed hard. What's that guy doing? Calling more of you, he asked, his voice cracking. Alex didn't answer, but his silence was enough. Ethan, the boy, piped up again. You're in trouble now, he said, almost excited. His mom pulled him back, but a small smile crossed her face. Madison finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. Son, let's not make this bigger than it needs to be. He looked at Jordan. You've got a choice, kid. Walk away or make it worse. Jordan froze, caught between pride and fear. The diner held its breath, waiting for his next move. Outside, the Jeep's engines idled, a low growl that promised more was coming. The diner's air was thick, every eye on Jordan as he stood, his hands clenched. Madison's words hung heavy. Walk away or make it worse. Jordan's jaw worked, his pride battling the weight of Alex's stare and the Marines at the door. I ain't apologizing, he said finally, his voice loud but brittle. He shouldn't have been in my way. A gasp rippled through the diner. Taylor, the waitress, shook her head. You're unbelievable, she said. You hit an old man and you're doubling down? Jordan turned to her, smirking. Stay out of it, sweetheart. This is between me and them. Alex's voice cut in sharp. No, it's between you and everyone here. You think you can walk over people and leave? Jordan laughed, but it was nervous. What, you gonna lock me up? For a slap? Alex didn't blink. You don't get it yet, do you? He nodded to one of the Marines, who stepped outside, speaking into his radio again. The diner buzzed, diners craning to see. Ethan, the boy, whispered to his mom, Are they getting more soldiers? His mom hushed him, but her eyes were wide. Morgan, the nurse, crossed her arms. You should listen to Mr. Madison, she said to Jordan. He's giving you a way out. Take it. Jordan's buddy, Riley, tugged at his sleeve. Man, let's just go. This is crazy. Jordan shoved him away. I said I'm not running, he shouted. But his eyes flicked to the door, where the Marine returned, nodding to Alex. They are here, sir, the Marine said. Jordan's smirk vanished. Who's here, he demanded. What's going on? Before Alex could answer, the door swung open again. A woman in her 50s, wearing a sheriff's badge, stepped in. Her name tag read Sheriff Harper. Behind her were two deputies, hands on their holsters. The diner went silent. Sheriff Harper scanned the room, her eyes landing on Madison. Mr. Madison, she said warmly, you all right? Madison nodded, his voice steady. I'm fine, Ellen. Just a little trouble. Sheriff Harper's gaze shifted to Jordan, hardening. You the one who put hands on him? She asked. Jordan's face paled, but he tried to play cool. It was nothing, lady. Just a misunderstanding. Harper raised an eyebrow. A misunderstanding that left a mark on a veteran's face? That's not nothing. The diners murmured, nodding. Taylor spoke up. He did it right in front of us, she said. Didn't even care. Ethan's mom added, My son saw it. It was awful. Jordan's buddies slunk lower in their seats, one muttering, "Told you, man." Sheriff Harper stepped closer to Jordan. "You got anything to say for yourself?" she asked. Jordan swallowed, his voice quieter. "I didn't know he was a big deal, okay? I just lost my temper." Alex spoke, his voice cold. "Lost your temper? My dad's got a silver star. He saved lives. And you think you get to hit him because you're mad?" Sheriff Harper nodded. "That's assault, son. You're in deep now." Jordan's eyes widened. "Assault? Come on, it was one hit." Harper shook her head. "One hit on a man who's earned respect you can't even dream of." She turned to Madison. "You want to press charges, Mr. Madison?" The diner held its breath. Madison looked at Jordan, his eyes calm but piercing. "I don't want trouble, Ellen," he said. "But this boy needs to learn." Jordan's shoulders slumped, relief mixing with shame. But then Madison added, "He's got a chance to make it right. Depends on him." Sheriff Harper nodded. "Your call, Mr. Madison. But he's not walking free without consequences." She turned to Jordan. "You're coming with us to talk." Now, Jordan's buddies bolted for the side door, but a Marine blocked their path. "Not so fast," the Marine said. Riley groaned. "This is your fault, Jordan." Outside, the Jeep's engines roared, and another vehicle pulled up, a news van. A reporter jumped out, camera in hand. The diner gasped. Taylor whispered to Morgan, "This is getting huge." Madison sighed, sipping his coffee, as if it was just another Sunday. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed as Sheriff Harper stood over Jordan, her deputies flanking him. The news van outside hummed with activity, the reporter setting up her camera through the window. Jordan's face was pale, his tough guy act crumbling. "You're not seriously arresting me, are you?" he asked, his voice cracking. Sheriff Harper crossed her arms. "You hit a man who served this country. You think you just walk away?" Jordan's eyes darted to Madison, who sat quietly, sipping his coffee. "I didn't know he was a hero, okay?" Jordan said. "I messed up. I'll say sorry." Taylor, the waitress, scoffed, wiping her hands on her apron. "Now you're sorry? After all this?" Morgan, the nurse, nodded. "Too late for that. You saw his cap, his age. You didn't care." Jordan's buddy Riley piped up from the corner, his voice shaky. "Jordan, just apologize, man. This is bad." Jordan shot him a glare. "You're not helping, Riley." Alex, standing by Madison, spoke up, his voice steady but hard. "An apology doesn't erase what you did. My dad's got scars from war." You added one more. The diner went quiet, the weight of his words sinking in. Ethan, the boy, tugged at his mom's sleeve. "Mom, is the old man going to be okay?" he whispered. His mom nodded, her eyes soft. "He's tough, Ethan. Tougher than that guy." Madison looked at the boy and gave a small smile, his first since the slap. "I'm all right, kid," he said, his voice warm. "Thanks for asking." The reporter outside knocked on the window, her voice muffled. "Can we get a statement, Sheriff?" Harper waved her off, focusing on Jordan. "You're coming to the station. We'll sort this out there." Jordan's shoulders slumped. "This is crazy." "It was just a moment," he said. "I got a kid at home. I can't go to jail." The diner stirred, surprised. Morgan raised an eyebrow. "A kid? And you're out here acting like this?" Jordan's face reddened, shame creeping in. "Yeah, a daughter. She's 6. I'm not perfect, all right." Alex stepped closer, his voice low. "My dad missed my childhood for this country. What's your excuse?" Jordan looked away, unable to answer. Then a new voice broke the tension. "Mr. Madison?" A young man in a delivery uniform stood at the door, holding a box. "You order this for pickup?" Madison nodded, waving him over. "Right here, son." The delivery guy, named Sam, hesitated, sensing the mood. "A bad time?" he asked. Madison chuckled softly. "Never a bad time for pie." The diner laughed, the tension easing for a moment. Sam set the box down, a cherry pie, Madison's favorite. Taylor smiled. "You and your pie, Mr. Madison. Every Sunday." Madison shrugged. "Keeps me going." But then, a twist. The reporter burst in, camera rolling. "Sir, I'm with Channel 5, she said to Madison. "We heard about the incident." Can you tell us what happened? The diner froze. Jordan's eyes widened. You're filming this? He shouted. The reporter ignored him, focusing on Madison. You're a veteran, right? People want to know your story. Madison sighed, his voice quiet. I'm just a man who wanted coffee. Alex put a hand on his shoulder. Dad, you don't have to talk. But Madison shook his head. No, son. Maybe it's time. He looked at the reporter. I served. I fought. I came home. That's my story. The reporter pressed. And this man who hit you? Jordan flinched, but Madison's voice stayed calm. He's young. He's got time to learn. Sheriff Harper nodded, signaling her deputies. Let's go, Jordan. As they cuffed him, Jordan's voice broke. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean it. Madison looked at him, his eyes steady. Mean it or not, you did it. Own it. The diner watched, silent, as the deputies led Jordan out. Outside, the camera flashed, capturing the moment. Ethan whispered to his mom, he's not so tough now. The Marine stood firm, a wall of respect around Madison, who opened his pie box, the sweet smell filling the air. The diner's door slammed shut as the deputies led Jordan outside, his head low, cuffs glinting in the sunlight. The news camera followed, its red light blinking. Inside, the air felt lighter, but the tension lingered like a stubborn fog. Madison sliced into his cherry pie, the fork scraping the plate. The Marines stood nearby, their boots rooted to the floor, a silent shield. Alex sat across from his dad, his face still tight. You sure you're okay, Dad? He asked, his voice soft but heavy. Madison nodded, chewing slowly. I'm fine, Alex. Pie helps. The diner chuckled, the sound breaking the quiet. Taylor, the waitress, refilled Madison's coffee. You're tougher than all of us, Mr. Madison, she said, smiling. I'd be shaking if someone hit me like that. Madison shrugged, his eyes warm. Takes more than a slap to rattle an old Marine. Morgan, the nurse, sat beside him, her phone buzzing. Mr. Madison, the hospital just texted. They saw the news van outside. They're worried about you. Madison waved it off. Tell 'em I'm eating pie, not dying. The diner laughed again, but then the door swung open, and a new face appeared, a woman in her 30s, her eyes red, holding a little girl's hand. The girl, clutching a stuffed bear, looked around, confused. Daddy, she called, her voice small. The diner froze. Jordan's daughter. Morgan's eyes widened. That's his kid, she whispered to Taylor. Taylor nodded, her face softening. He mentioned a daughter. Didn't think she'd show up. The woman, Jordan's sister, scanned the room, spotting Madison. Are you the one he hit? She asked, her voice shaking. Madison set his fork down, meeting her gaze. I'm the one, he said calmly. The woman's face crumpled. I'm so sorry, she said, stepping closer, the girl trailing behind. Jordan's been a mess since our mom died. He's not a bad guy, just lost. Alex leaned forward, his voice firm. Lost or not, he crossed a line. The woman nodded, tears spilling. I know. I heard it on the radio. Came as soon as I could. The little girl tugged at her hand. Where's Daddy? Is he in trouble? Madison's eyes softened, and he leaned down. Your dad's just talking to some folks, sweetheart, he said. He'll be okay. The girl hugged her bear tighter, unsure. Ethan, the boy from earlier, walked over, bold as ever. Your dad was mean to him, he said, pointing at Madison. But he's nice, so maybe it's okay. His mom grabbed his arm. Ethan, hush. But Madison smiled. Kid's honest. I like that. The reporter, still inside, turned her camera toward the girl, but Taylor stepped in front. Hey, leave her alone, she snapped. She's just a kid. The reporter backed off, muttering, just doing my job. Outside, the news van's lights flashed, and a crowd was forming. Locals, drawn by the commotion. Sheriff Harper re-entered, her face grim. Madison, we've got a problem, she said. Jordan's got a record. Small stuff, but this assault charge could stick. Madison sighed, looking at the little girl. What's her name? He asked Jordan's sister. Lily, she said. Madison nodded. Lily needs her dad, Ellen. Maybe not in jail. Alex frowned. Dad, he hit you. You can't let that slide. Madison's voice was steady. I'm not letting it slide, son. But I've seen enough men locked up. Doesn't always fix things. The diner murmured, surprised by his mercy. Jordan's sister wiped her eyes. You're too kind, she said. He doesn't deserve it. Madison looked at her. Maybe not. But she does, he said, nodding at Lily. Then a new twist. The door burst open again, and an older man in a veteran's cap limped in, his voice booming. Madison, heard you got trouble. It was Joe, Madison's old war buddy, who'd caught the news on TV. Nobody messes with my friend, he said, glaring at the spot where Jordan had been. The diner gasped, then clapped, the mood shifting. Madison chuckled. Joe, you're late, he said. Trouble's already here. The diner buzzed with energy as Joe, Madison's war buddy, stood near the door, his weathered cap tilted proudly. His loud entrance had lit a spark, and the crowd's applause still echoed. Madison shook his head, a faint smile on his lips. Joe, you always show up when the fight's over, he said, cutting another slice of cherry pie. Joe laughed, limping over to the booth, his cane tapping the floor. Fight's never over, Madison. Not with you around. The Marines nodded respectfully, recognizing Joe's cap, a Vietnam vet like Madison. Alex stood, offering Joe his seat. Good to see you, sir, Alex said. Joe waved him off. Sit, Captain. I'm not that old. The diner chuckled, the mood warming despite the chaos outside. Lily, Jordan's daughter, clung to her aunt's hand, her eyes wide as she watched Joe. Is he a soldier too? She whispered, clutching her stuffed bear. Her aunt, Sarah, knelt beside her. He's like Mr. Madison, honey. They helped people a long time ago. Lily looked at Madison, curious. Did you help my daddy? She asked, her voice small but clear. The diner went quiet, every eye on Madison. He set his fork down, his face soft. Not yet, sweetheart, he said. But maybe I can. Sarah's eyes teared up. You don't owe him anything, she said. Jordan's been trouble for years. I keep telling him to grow up for Lily's sake. Madison nodded, his voice steady. Kids need their folks, even the ones who mess up. Outside, the news van's lights flashed, and the crowd grew louder. Sheriff Harper stepped back inside, her radio crackling. Madison, we've got a situation, she said, her voice tense. Jordan's talking to the deputies, but the news crew's spinning this into a big story. They're calling it Biker Attacks War Hero. It's going viral. Taylor gasped, her coffee pot shaking. Viral? Like on the internet? Harper nodded. Yeah, people are showing up. Veterans, mostly. They heard about you, Madison. Alex frowned. This is getting out of hand, Dad. You wanted a quiet coffee. Madison sighed, sipping his coffee. Quiet's overrated, son. Morgan checked her phone, her face pale. She's right, she said. It's all over social media. Hashtags and everything. Hashtag Justice for Madison. Ethan, the boy, bounced in his seat. That's so cool, he said. You're famous, Mr. Madison. His mom shushed him, but her smile betrayed her pride. Madison shook his head. Famous for getting slapped? I'll pass. The diner laughed, but the mood shifted when the door opened again. A group of veterans, some in wheelchairs, others with service dogs, filed in, their caps and jackets covered in pins. Their leader, a woman named Claire, approached Madison. We saw the news, she said, her voice firm. Nobody touches one of our own. Madison stood, shaking her hand. Appreciated Claire. But I'm all right. Claire's eyes narrowed. That punk out there? He's not. We're here to make sure he gets it. Jordan's sister, Sarah, spoke up, her voice shaky. Please, he's my brother. He's not evil. He's just angry. Claire softened, glancing at Lily. We're not here to hurt him, ma'am. But he needs to learn respect. Lily tugged at Sarah's sleeve. Is Daddy bad? She asked. Sarah hugged her tight. No, honey. He just made a mistake. Madison looked at Lily, his voice gentle. Mistakes happen, kid. It's what you do after that counts. The diner nodded, moved by his words. Joe clapped Madison's shoulder. Always the wise one, he said. But that boy needs a wake-up call. Then, a new twist. The reporter burst back in, her cameraman trailing. Mr. Madison, we've got a live feed, she said, breathless. People are donating online to support you. Thousands already. The diner gasped. Taylor's jaw dropped. Donating? For what? The reporter grinned. Veterans Charities, in your name. You're a hero. Madison frowned, uncomfortable. I didn't ask for this, he said. I just wanted pie. Alex laughed, breaking the tension. That's Dad. Pie over fame. The Marines chuckled, and even Lily giggled, her bear bouncing. But the drama wasn't over. Sheriff Harper's radio crackled again. Sheriff, we've got a problem, a deputy's voice said. Jordan's trying to run. The diner froze. Harper cursed under her breath. That idiot, she said, heading for the door. Alex stood, signaling his Marines. We'll handle it, he said. Madison grabbed his arm. Son, no fighting, he said. Let the law do its job. Alex hesitated, then nodded. Yes, sir. Outside, tires screeched, and the crowd shouted. Morgan ran to the window. He's on his bike, she yelled. He's getting away. The veterans bristled, Claire muttering, not on our watch. Ethan jumped up. Get him, he shouted, earning a stern look from his mom. Sarah clutched Lily, tears falling. Why is he doing this? She said. He's making it worse. Madison stood, his voice calm but firm. He's scared, he said. Scared folks run. But they don't get far. The reporter turned her camera on Madison. What's your message to him? She asked. Madison looked straight into the lens. Jordan, you've got a little girl who needs you. Stop running. Face it like a man. The diner fell silent, his words heavy with truth. Lily whispered, Daddy, come back. Outside, the jeeps roared to life, and the chase was on. The diner's windows rattled as Jordan's motorcycle roared down the street, the sound fading into the distance. Sheriff Harper was already out the door, barking orders into her radio. He's heading west on Main. Cut him off. The Marines moved toward their jeeps, but Madison raised a hand. Stay put, boys, he said, his voice calm but firm. Alex turned, surprised. Dad, he's running. We can't let him get away. Madison shook his head, his eyes steady. He won't get far, son. Let him run. It's what cowards do. The diner watched, holding its breath. Lily, Jordan's daughter, clung to her Aunt Sarah, her voice trembling. Why is Daddy leaving me? She asked, tears spilling. Sarah hugged her tight, her own eyes wet. He's scared, honey. But we'll fix this. Madison knelt beside Lily, his voice soft. Your dad's coming back, sweetheart. He just needs to learn how. Lily sniffed, clutching her bear. You promise. Madison nodded. I promise. Inside, the veterans rallied around Madison, their leader Claire speaking up. We've got your back, she said. That punk's not getting off easy. Joe, Madison's war buddy, nodded, tapping his cane. He messed with the wrong guy, he said. You're too nice, Madison. The reporter, still filming, pushed forward. Mr. Madison, what's next? Are you pressing charges? Madison sighed, looking at Lily. I'm not here to ruin a man, he said. But he's got to face what he did. The diner murmured, impressed by his mercy. Ethan, the young boy, tugged at his mom's sleeve. Mom, he's so cool. Like a superhero. His mom smiled. He's better than that, Ethan. He's real. Outside, the crowd grew, locals and veterans chanting Madison's name. The news van's live feed was still rolling, the reporter's voice echoing through a speaker. This is a story of courage and community, sparked by one man's strength. Taylor, the waitress, wiped her eyes. This is crazy, she said to Morgan. Mr. Madison's changing everything. Morgan nodded, checking her phone. The donations are over 10,000 now, she said. People love him. Madison overheard and shook his head. I don't need money, he said. Give it to the veterans who need it. The diner clapped, their respect for him growing. Then, a twist. Sheriff Harper's radio crackled. We got him, a deputy's voice said. He crashed his bike a mile out. No injuries, but he's in custody. The diner erupted in cheers. Alex clenched his fist, a grim smile on his face. Good, he said. Now he answers for it. Sarah gasped, holding Lily tighter. Is he okay? She asked. Harper, stepping back inside, nodded. He's fine. Just shook up. Bike's totaled, though. Lily's lip quivered. Daddy's bike. Madison put a hand on her shoulder. He's safe, kid. That's what matters. But his eyes were hard, a flicker of justice in them. The door opened again, and the deputies brought Jordan in, his hands cuffed, his leather jacket torn. His head was low, his bravado gone. The diner went silent, the weight of the moment heavy. Jordan's eyes found Lily, and his face crumpled. "Lily," he said, his voice breaking. "I'm sorry, baby." Lily ran to him, hugging his legs despite the cuffs. "Don't leave again, Daddy," she said. Sarah pulled her back, tears streaming. "You've got to do better, Jordan," she said. "For her." Jordan nodded, unable to meet her eyes. Sheriff Harper turned to Madison. "Your call, Mr. Madison," she said. "Charges or not." The diner waited, every ear on him. Madison stood, his presence filling the room. He walked to Jordan, his boots slow on the tile. "You hit me," he said, his voice steady. "I could let you rot in a cell. Part of me wants to." Jordan flinched, but Madison kept going. "But I've seen enough men broken by war. I won't break you. Not like that." The diner stirred, surprised. Alex frowned. "Dad, he deserves it." Madison raised a hand. "He'll get what's coming, son. But not with fists or bars." Madison turned to Jordan, his eyes piercing. "You're going to make this right," he said. "Not for me. For her." He nodded at Lily. Jordan swallowed, his voice hoarse. "How?" "I got nothing left." Madison's voice was firm. "You've got a chance. Work for it. Start with community service at the Veterans Center. Learn what respect means." The veterans nodded, Claire speaking up. "We'll keep an eye on him," she said. "He'll earn it or answer to us." Jordan's eyes widened, but he nodded. "Okay," he said. "I'll do it. For Lily." The revenge wasn't loud or violent, it was deeper. Jordan's punishment was facing his shame, rebuilding under the veterans' watchful eyes, knowing he'd lost his bike, his pride, and nearly his daughter. The diner felt it, the justice in Madison's mercy. Sheriff Harper uncuffed Jordan, her voice stern. "You step out of line, you're done," she said. Jordan nodded, hugging Lily tight. "I won't," he said, his voice raw. Madison sat back down, his pie waiting. The reporter turned off her camera, her eyes misty. "That was incredible," she said. "You're a real hero." Madison shrugged, taking a bite. "Just a guy who wanted coffee." The diner laughed, the tension gone. Ethan ran over, holding out a crayon drawing of a Marine. "For you, Mr. Madison," he said. Madison took it, smiling. "Thanks, kid. I'll keep it." Taylor brought fresh coffee, her voice soft. "This one's on the house," she said. The Marines saluted Madison, and the veterans raised their cups in a toast. The moral lesson was clear. Real strength isn't in fighting back. It's in giving others a chance to grow, even when they've wronged you. Jordan's journey was just beginning, but Madison's quiet courage had changed him, Lily, and the whole town. Outside, the crowd cheered as the news spread, the donations for veterans soaring. Madison finished his pie, his cap steady on his head, a man who'd faced war and won peace in a small diner.